that we didn't belong there. So we went in with our background checks and our list of references from Catholic Charities and United Methodist Open Door, not realizing that most all of our references were either our insurance agent or some church-related thing. And we passed. We passed not only with him, but with, at that time, the director of safety. So we went to school, we knocked on the door, we said, we have been cleared by these people, and this is what we do. And they said, okay, come in. So we did. So we talked to kids about emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, and trafficking. And we were able to help quite a few kids. We tell the kids that they matter. They matter. I'm going to pretend you're all kids that I've seen sitting in a classroom. And every one of you is important. Every one of you matters. Every one of you is good at something. We aren't all good at everything, but we're all good at one thing. And you find out what that one thing is you're good at and you run with it. And if you're having trouble in school, there's a subject that's not easy for you, you go to your teacher and you say, I've tried, I really tried, but I don't understand it. Is there some tutoring available in this? Yes. It's simple. Kids matter. Kids care about each other. And kids care about grown-ups. And believe me, they tell us things. So we had Vincent, and we've gone through a little bit of verbal abuse. We've had kids come to us and say, we've had people say to kids, you're no good, you're a troublemaker. One lady said her mother left her outside the side of the road when she was 5 and left her 2 brothers, a brother and a sister in the back seat waving at her, and her mother said, you are a troublemaker and you're never going to amount to anything. And she said, when your mother tells you that, must be true. Not true. But that did happen. So it's very important that you encourage kids. You have children that you love. You have children that you take care of. But how many of those children might have a friend? I know my son had a friend that he spent more time at our house than he did at his house. He spent more time at another friend's house than he did at his house. But both the other parent and I realized that that boy was being raised by himself. He needed us. So pay attention. If you're in a situation like that in your neighborhood, one of your kids' friends, pay attention. Do what you can. Neglect is another form of child abuse. Neglect is when there is no heat in the house, no water in the house, the kids are sent to school dirty. I don't want you to think neglect has to do with income. Neglect has to do with caring. You can be poor, as this old saying goes, as a church mouse, and you still take care of your kids. You might not have everything you want, but your kids will have what they need. While we're on this subject, I recommend that you check with your school counselor or your school social worker. Any school that's close by you, go in and ask to speak to that person and ask them, are there kids in your school that have needs like socks? Do you need somebody to bring off a few pair of socks? Do you need somebody to bring middle schoolers? Do you need somebody to bring deodorant? When you are on food stamps, you can't buy any hygiene items. You can only buy food. So teenagers, I'm sorry, but teenagers can get just a little bit rank if they don't have these things. My husband used to bring a soccer team home to our basement. It was pretty bad after a game. You need to know, I'm going to talk to you about physical abuse, and before we can do that, we need to know what the Kansas law says about discipline. Kansas law says your parents are allowed to spank you until you're 18. That's your parents or your legal guardian. That is not your mom's boyfriend. It doesn't say they can beat you across the back with a belt. It doesn't say they can sock you in the face. It says they can spank you. What they are not allowed to do is leave a mark, such as a bruise, a scar, or draw blood. That is abuse. Kids can understand that. They understand very clearly what that means. One of our posters we brought with us has a story of a 13-year-old boy that stopped by our house. He came about this time of year, right before Thanksgiving. He saw our sign, he saw Mama's sign, he saw signs in the neighborhood, and he was waiting till he saw somebody out there. And he said, "My mom would really like one of your signs." And I said, "Well, she's welcome to it. You know, she's welcome to it. How many would you like?" "Well, 2. That'd be fine." He says, "My dad. I was abused by my dad." I said, "You were?" He said, "Yes. He broke 3 of my ribs." I said, "He did?" He said, "Yes, but my mom got me out of it." I said, "Well, good for her. Good for her." His mom was so thrilled that he had stopped and talked to me. He was 13 years old. He was coming down the street from the middle school and saw the sign. He went from a kid who was failing in school, actually had been removed from one middle school to another for acting out, failing in school. That's the right one. To a kid that wrote this. What I thought when I saw the sign. You know when people say they've seen their life flash before their eyes? That's what happened to me. The yard sign reminded me of something I've been trying to forget for a long time. Then I thought, wow, somebody really cares about children who are abused. And that made me really happy. My name is, and I'm going to put in TJ because it was around Thanksgiving, just for the tea. But yet I go by. I'm the type of person who likes to talk to anyone given the chance. However, I never thought I would talk about my situation with anyone, let alone a complete stranger. I was abused by my dad for over 2 years, while my mom was away on deployment. Mom was in the National Guard. I didn't tell my mom because my dad threatened me, and he told me if I ever said anything, I'd get beat worse. My dad happened to beat me worse than normal. He beat me with a belt buckle. It was a Monday. Now, when this happened, he was 9. When this started, he was 7. Dad was a bodybuilder. He didn't need to hit a 7-year-old with a belt. My dad happened to beat me worse than normal. He beat me with a belt buckle. It was a Monday. Friday, my mom came to pick me up. It was her weekend. Mom drove from here up to the Kansas City area to get it, okay? I was changing clothes when my mom came in, and she saw dark marks on me and scars and asked me what happened. Remember, he's 9. I was scared. I was thinking if my dad finds out my mom knows, I'm going to be in so much trouble. I told my mom what happened. She called a friend, and then the police, and the officer took pictures, and I had to go to the hospital. At the hospital, the The doctor said I had 3 broken ribs and broken knuckles, many bruises, and bones that were healing from previous beatings. I was really scared. The doctor prayed with me and my mom. He told me to be brave and how important it was to break the cycle. The doctor asked me if I knew what breaking the cycle meant. I told him no. He said if the cycle wasn't broken, little boys who are abused can grow up to be dads who abuse. It took a long time for the police to charge my dad. He wouldn't have been charged if my mom and papa hadn't fought for me. When I saw Grandma BK come out of her house smiling, I could feel the Spirit of the Lord drawing me to her. I knew she was someone I could safely talk to. Even though I have a lot of support, it was very hard to write this. I didn't want to speak out. Now that I have, I feel good. And I hope what I have said will encourage and give strength to others. That's quite something to come from a 13-year-old, isn't it? That boy went from that to giving away 350 of our bracelets at his school, to come knocking on my door one day saying, Grandma BK, guess what? What? He said, I got the best grade card I ever got. I said, well, what did you get? He said, all passing grades. He went from a kid who had been failing in everything to a kid that eventually made the honor roll. He got the Community and Schools Star Award and invited Grandma BK as his grandma to go to the luncheon, which is where I saw the school board member. Isn't it strange how God works? So he is on his way to healing. It's not that simple. One time he was helping me with something at the women's fair, and I walked up behind him and he turned around real fast because he'd seen my shadow. He said, Grandma BK, I almost kicked you. He was afraid of shadows. And I said, well, if you did, you did. Don't worry about it. You know? I understood. If you know someone who's thinking of running away, I want you to understand that we know kids run away from abuse. So if you know someone is thinking of running away, you speak up. You get that kid some help. Speak up is a word that our school system has used for bullying. Speak up is a very positive phrase. Speak up is something we all should do. I wish that someone, whoever is out there hearing this, that can write a rap song would write one that said, speak up and give the kids some help. I think that a song like that could do a lot of good. If someone tells you that someone is touching them or they shouldn't be, that's as close as I can say anything in school. That's a cry for help. Speak up, give the kids some help. I had a lady come to me at the women's fair and say that she was being abused at home. And she had you call it a non-responsive mother. She tells her mother and nobody believes her. So she told her best friend. Well, guess what happened? Her best friend dropped her. So she had no one. That's why I tell these kids, if someone tells you someone is touching them where they shouldn't be touched, that means any area that your swimsuit covers. Speak up and give that kid some help, because it's not their choice. It wasn't their choice that this happened to them. Now, I have a very wonderful expert in my family. She's growing up on me fast. But at this time, she was 12. And she came to me, and it was the Sandusky Penn State deal, and she said, "Grandma, did you hear about the boy that was raped by the coach?" I said, "I did. And I think that was probably a case of grooming." Well, she said, "Grandma, what is grooming?" "Oh, never mind, Grandma, I know." I said, "Okay, you tell me." She says, "Grooming is when you're on the internet and someone comes on and says, 'Your parents don't understand you, but I'll be your friend.' And she said, and then later on, they send you a gift like a phone. And then later on, they say, 'I sent you a naked picture of me. Now you send me a naked picture of you.'" I said, "That's exactly right. A pedophile." "Oh," she said, "No, Grandma, a predator." A predator. It's another school word. I said, "Where did you learn it?" She says, "From the librarian at school." I said, "God bless our schools." So, I really want to talk to you about trafficking because it's here. It's alive and well in Wichita, Kansas. We have kids that are raising themselves. We have kids that on a Friday night, they put on makeup and wear it to school, and then on a Friday night, this for sure happened. This girl told me this story. Actually, she told it to Marcia over there. That she had gone out with a boy. She was 13. A boy had picked her up at Groves. That means the boy had to have been at least 17, possibly older, and said he'd take her to a party. And wherever he took her in, those boys took one look at her and said to the other boy, "What did you bring that kid here for? Take her back where you got her." Well, she was safe at that time. But what could have happened to her? She could have been shot full of drugs. She could have been gang raped. And she could have wound up being trafficked. So I want you to realize, I want everybody here to realize to get a USA map. Get that USA map, and there it is. And we've got one up here. And you draw out the I-35 corridor. Our kids are visual. They were raised with the internet. They were raised with television. Thank you, sweetheart. So, if you show them, you double circle Wichita, and you circle Kansas City, and you circle Tulsa, and you circle these towns, you can explain to kids how quickly they can be gone. The time it takes to go to a movie. If they tell Mom, "I'm going to the movie," and they don't go to the movie, and they get in a car, your parents, your legal guardians are your safety net. You don't get in any car. Not just this once, not ever. You don't get in any car that your parents don't know you're in, because you could be gone. You could be locked up for 10 years. What happened to those 3 girls? You don't do it. If you have a phone, you contact Mom or Dad and say, "My friend wants to give me a ride, is that okay?" Mom and Dad know where you are, but you don't just do it without talking to them. I suggest that everyone have talk with their kids and come up with a password, just like you have on your computer, a password that if a stranger, someone you're not accustomed to, comes to pick you up, uses that password, then you know it's okay to go with them. But if they don't use it, you call 911. Things that they tell kids are, "Your parents have been in an accident. They sent me to get you." You don't do that. You can call 911. If they said your parents have been in an accident and your password was chili sauce and they said chili sauce, well then yeah, that'd be okay. But without the password, you don't get the call. You can always call and find out what's going on. A trafficker can be a man or a woman. Some of the things, warning bells, some of the things that people tell kids. One is, of course, little girl, help me find my puppy. That's the little kids. Middle school, get in the car. You're going to be late. I'll get you there in time. Your parents have been in an accident. High school, you have a flat tire. If you have a flat tire, you call your parents. You don't let a stranger help you because they may have made that flat tire. College. Oh, by college, they're safe. They're smart. They're educated. We don't have to worry about it. No. They parked a van on a college campus and asked if this was a test, and asked these kids that were passing by, would you like to be on a reality TV show? Well, what college kid wouldn't want to do that? The boy said, no, I don't get into strange things. The girl hopped right in the van, and the man said, give me your phone, and I'll put my number in it. She's in the van, she hands it with the phone. No. There was a 19-year-old girl that fell for, you do really great makeup. So would you like to come? She's ready to go to college. Would you like to come with us? You need to come work for us, and we'll travel the country, and you can teach other people how to do makeup. It's a really great job. And she fell for it. She was trafficked for 5 years. She was able to get away before they sent her overseas. You can be a model. No, it doesn't work that way. You go with your parents to the modeling school. You don't go to some strange